Let's talk about a different company then for a moment. That's also a kind of pandemic play insofar as we believe in such things for a moment. Just based on what you were teasing me with before the show, I feel like we have different ideas about this one, but I've not thought about it much lately. The hell is going on with Peloton lately?
Okay. So Peloton released its earnings this week. I think it was yesterday. But really, I want to just flash back to Tuesday first because, these earnings were dismal, right? But there was a telltale sign beforehand that they were going to be. And the press release a day before earnings stated that they were signing a deal with Amazon to distribute their products and sell them on Amazon.com. Earnings was 24 hours away. So why couldn't they wait? Well, we got the answer on Wednesday, Steve, because they didn't want to wait, because that's important news, and it would have been absolutely buried in this shit show. I mean, revenues. Let's just group them all together. Revenues, gross profit, gross margins, adjusted EBITDA margin, EPS, free cash flow, subscriptions, connected fitness, digital, and their churn all missed consensus expectations. They also missed on their guide for gross profit, revenue, gross margin, adjusted EBITDA margin, and connected fitness subs. The only thing I actually beat on was their connected fitness revenues, and that was only because Wall Street thought they would be extremely crap, and they were just quite crap. But I've got some highlights for you. There was some positives in the report. Members were up 15% year on year to about 6.9 million. Subscribers were up about 27% year on year to 2.9 million. Subscription revenue was up 36% to 383 million. There's some lowlights as well, Steve. Connected fitness products revenue was down 55%. There was a net loss of 1.2 billion. Free cash flow was minus 412 million, which is about, it's over 10% of today's market cap. But look, here goes. Getting rid of the shops, which this has to be the long-term focus of Peloton, right? Know your lane. No one needs a treadmill shop. No. That's a really good move. Digital-only distribution, using Amazon as the courier, not trying to build out your own courier service, moving production elsewhere to another country where you think you can actually make a profit on the bikes yourself because they're still losing on the sale of a bike. I think I smell a turnaround story here. I don't think they're going to get back to their old highs. I don't think that's going to happen. But I think if the new CEO can pull all of that off, I think this might work.
The new CEO has the right ideas, doesn't he? I mean, I have what is arguably my favourite quote. I mean, we talk about Buffett quotes and stuff, right? And there's a lot of really good Buffett quotes. You shared a very nice one with me the other day, actually. But here is my favourite quote from a business person. It just gets to the core of what everything is about. It says Barry McCarthy, the new CEO at Peloton, we have to make our revenues stop shrinking and start growing again. Cash is oxygen and oxygen is life, he says. I mean, he's not wrong, but the idea that that's in any way news or mention worthy or some sort of a plan of, look, the plan is to make the revenues go up, not down, very roughly. That is kind of where it's at. I'm suspicious of detecting a turnaround story here, but I do think that Peloton has suddenly gone from having all of the wind behind it to having all of the wind now in its face. So when I think about kind of pandemic plays, think about Teladoc, think about Zoom, think about Peloton as another good example for the moment. All of those got a big push from everybody being at home, fair enough. And in the case of Peloton, the kind of talk was that no one would ever go to the gym again, which was clearly rubbish, but there was talk of that at the time. Now Peloton has something else going as a headwind that, say, Zoom doesn't, from what I can see of it, which is that nobody got any money anymore, and the cost of living has gone through the roof. And Zoom probably is less bothered about that, I think, than something like Peloton is, because I have a feeling that subscription is going to go quite fast, and I'm very wary of the idea that when people are trying to work out how to make their energy costs, they're going to be also working out how to buy a massive treadmill and install it in their house. So I think there's a kind of pressure on them as a sort of discretionary purchase that there wasn't on maybe Zoom or Teladoc, or maybe pick some other favourite pandemic plays, Netflix, for instance, or whatever. I guess, so I can see that, it might be kind of sinking further than it ought to be at the moment, and maybe those headwinds will abate. I still think it's a lousy business. For what it's worth, the selling on Amazon thing, my reaction was, were they not doing that before? it was just a direct to consumer thing. Huh? I knew there are a bunch of Peloton shops because there's one in Oxford near where I live, and I've never seen anybody in it, and I imagine it won't be there much longer. But that struck me as a thing they really ought to have been doing ages ago, selling stuff on Amazon.
Well, potentially, but you've got to think, this goes back to the old story of Thornton's, when Thornton's was this kind of executive brand. You could only go to Thornton's for Thornton's chocolate, and it did incredibly well off the back of that. But they wanted more. They got greedy, so they pushed into your supermarkets, your Asda's and your Morrison's, and what that did was it took away the exclusivity of a Thornton's brand. That's the idea behind like an exclusive brand that you can only get from one place. And Peloton obviously thought they could replicate this with an exercise bike, and evidently exclusivity doesn't work on exercise bikes. I guess we probably, in hindsight, could have guessed that, but do you know what I mean? It's just a funny it's a funny situation to be in, isn't it? I think sometimes in the hype of everything, when you see people, especially Peloton's revenue was increasing 80-90% at a time. There was quite a few times you must have sat there and thought, well, maybe I'm stupid. Maybe it's me who doesn't think that, a £1,800 or whatever it was exercise bike is an exclusivity thing. And I guess we're in the tail end of that now. We're in the, But what I'm trying to express is I don't think Peloton's going to go back to being that business in the pandemic. But what I think they could potentially spin out is a sustainable business where Peloton are trying to deliver their own things. They've got vans, they've got drivers. There's absolutely no need for that. It's just not needed. If they can get their production outsourced out of America into wherever, get a lower cost of production, get a cheaper bike, get the bike out with a subscription to customers using Amazon's warehouses. Peloton has no need to hold massive amounts of stock. Just get it held in an Amazon warehouse. Get Amazon to sort it, get Amazon to deliver it. Cut that whole cost side out of your business, cut all the shops out of the business. That's a lot of spend there, that Peloton, that's a lot of spend. And they cut all that out. I mean, this is an £1,800 bike that people are still going to buy in, Steve. There must be some revenue in that. There must be a business in there.
I sort of feel like there must be. As you pointed out, though, it's an £1,800 bike. I feel like that's going to get you exclusivity of a sort, kind of by itself, right? I mean, I'm not sure. The kind of comparison I have in mind here, the difference with Thornton's, right, is that I probably could go and buy Thornton's chocolate if I saw it in a Tesco or something like that. I wouldn't buy a Peloton if I saw it in a Tesco, just because I can't afford the damn thing. I wonder whether there's something similar going here with iPhones, basically. They're supposed to be... And Apple is a potential takeover candidate we heard talks about a while ago for Peloton. I lately heard someone, or they were touting on Motley Fool the idea, they weren't touting this, sorry, they were reporting someone else touting it, that Amazon might try and buy Peloton so they can just lump Peloton stuff into their Amazon Prime thing, just to make Amazon Prime a bit more attractive and so on. I wonder about that. I'm not sure that they've quite worked out how to get these. I think the thing that needs to happen for Peloton is that their stuff needs to get easier to store in people's houses, basically. I have a clothes error. I don't really need another one for the moment. So I feel like that's the kind of bit that I'm waiting to happen here. I'm waiting for it to come out with some sort of product. Connected fitness sounds great, but I'm not quite sure that I think I've seen the thing that really does it for them yet.
Fair enough.